All right. I'm gonna keep moving. Okay, I see your note. We're good to go. I'm gonna keep rocking here. Let me just go back. Well, I'm home now. This is the main page. It thinks I'm John Demo, even though I'm Rick Montney. On the left side, you've got your favorites. You can provide help or any ideas and so forth. Here's news, and which is releases and so forth. You have multi-languages. I don't have French or Arabic in here, but they're easily added. This is just an example in this database of 5 different languages. So I can set the language preference to anything I want. Let me just give you a feel for that so you can kind of see it. So notice here, you know, this is all in English, but if I go back, okay, to the home, and I go to settings and I click that to Spanish, let's say, and then I go to land list, okay, you'll see everything in the database, okay, gets changed, okay, including the headings and all those kind of things. So I'm going to stick with English. I doubt y'all know Spanish, and I don't. So I'm going to go change it back to English. Now, when I did that, not only set the settings to, and this is by user, by the way, it not only set the settings to Spanish, but all the headings, the reports, and all that. So it all goes down to the reporting and everything too. So that's the language translation. Let me just go show you the glossary. Now this is throughout the system, so everything that I'm showing you here is you know, is throughout the whole system here. So if I go into language, the glossary translation, you'll see the different products and so forth here. So here's all the different modules and products. Here's all the languages that are in there currently. So if I go down, and in fact, it might be good for me to, in fact, I'll go do this. I'm going to go to land list. I'm going to open up in a new tab just so you can see the nomenclature of this, and then we'll come back to it. Notice that this is land areas. Okay, now when you get into agriculture and different commodities, the naming convention, the name of the field itself is variable. So 1 minute it may be a field, it may be a ranch, it may be a grove, it could be a vineyard, could be an orchard, all kind of different things. So if we go back to that glossary translation, you'll see that the translation here for English, okay, but maybe we want to call that something else in the glossary itself. So land area, let's say that we'll call it field. Okay, that's a common one. So what I do is just click the check mark, and now when I go back, okay, to land list, now you'll see that it not only changed it there, but it changed it here too and throughout the system. So all of these fields can be changed, or you know, database field levels, not to be confused with the naming convention there, can do it. Now you also can move things around on the thing. You can sort the columns. You know, you can move the columns around. So if I wanted to switch blocks planted versus gross, you know, I can do that here. So a lot of capabilities as it relates to that. So of course all the selection criteria is at the top. You know, the magnifying glass is really the search. If I wanted to hide the header, you'll see some of the things like that. So maybe I'm working with things and I don't need to see things. So you've got a lot of different things like that. And these are good for tablet and mobile applications where it gives you, you know, more real estate or screen size to work with. Now, if I go into a lot of different crops here, let me just give you a feel. This database has probably got about 3,000 different or acres. It's set up into multiple field areas. Here's some blueberries. Here's some citrus. Here's a bunch of grapes. This is actually wine grapes. There's some table grapes in here too. So you know, it's not a real small one, and it's not a real big one either. So let's go take a look at it, and let's go take a look at land list. And as I go into land list, you'll see that it, I've got all the different attributes. In this particular case, it's a tree crop. So I've got a capacity of 11,343 trees, and I've got 8,500 in the ground, and I've got this many vacancies. And it's a variety of Hamlin in this particular case, and here's the spacing, okay, of that. It's a 26-acre parcel in this particular case. You can add different fields and so forth to this too, and these things can be changed. So, and you notice the tabs up at the top. We're going to go into those. I'm going to click into the land property block so you can kind of see the overall first. So this says, notice my fields came in here. This would have said land areas, and I'm in the Blue Jay area, and I'm in block 1. It's a 26-acre parcel. This is where it's located, section, township, range, address, directions, legal. Notice these fields down here. These are fields that you can add. So if we're not tracking something that you want to track, you can add these fields in the template, and they'll add it to the database. And then this particular 26-acre block could be broken down into multiple parcels, could be multiple varieties, could be more segmentation of the land itself. And if I clicked into that, I'd go down to that parcel level that we were at. You can add any attachments. Okay, so you can add contracts, could be a well permit, could be pictures, could be scouting, could be documents, could be the farmer's agreement with Rader PLC. You simply just add a thing. You can, or just add a document. This case here, this is a well, so you can define specific things on a piece of property. This is just one, and this is a well and the location of that. And then you've got a logbook that's capturing, different things, and you can add anything that you want. You can add your own manual notes to this as a logbook, or you could be using our harvesting product, and maybe you went out and you generated a harvesting ticket, okay, that came in, and this said it was 500 was the quantity. This particular thing's in boxes in this particular example, and they've got it's going to a processing plant, and this was the test results. Now this is based on a tree crop commodity and a juice thing, so these things would be different based on the crop that you're doing. This one was based on juice and solids and Brix acid ratio and based on weights, and you probably have some commodities that do the same. But I just wanted to show you that the point here is not only is that information over in the harvesting module, which is where that would be, but it'd be here too. Something I didn't show you, which I should have done at the beginning, let me do it now. These are the different products, the LandMagic products, and as I go from left to right, you'll see that this is LandMaster as the applications are on the left, and the reports are all on the right. They're all the same. So as I move, there's Geo. So you can print a map book and put your own icons and styles and stuff like that on it. This is the labor management system, so this is all about tracking time and pieces and paying workers, and I doubt you would use this over there. This is crop care. This is where that calendar was, and we're going to see that. This is inventory. So this is where all the chemical items and the inventory history, and by the way, it does have a purchasing piece, so if y'all are consolidating purchases from small farm holders into Rader, which I think you are, this could be a mechanism to do purchase requisitions and do consolidations. Not sure how you would implement this, but that would be certainly a consideration. This is the harvesting product, generates tickets, allows you to generate harvesting schedules, estimates, and things like that. And then this is LandMagic, which allows you to build templates and then shove them out to a mobile device. So that's a little of the different products and so forth. I kind of showed you that. So if we go back to land list, and see all of our different properties. The one thing that might be good for you to see before I move on to some other things, this is where all the setup is, by the way, so it's all in one spot. Here's the different products that you've got, and then this is where you would set up, different, different crops in districts and regions, and terms and landmaster controls and periods and seasons and unit of measures, and all that stuff is all there. So all the metrics and all those things are all built in, and you just set them up by different things. So this is where it's all done. There is a means to do spinning up different crops and so forth. So this is a land configuration utility. So it's what this allows you to do is add different crops and fields pretty quick. So you can copy stuff from the old ones, okay, or you can, and a RIP is rest in peace. So let's say that I'm doing row crops and I've got multiple plantings in a specific year, and I'm going to wipe that field and I'm going to plant something completely new. So I would do a bulk rip and copy. Just a bulk rip, or I could do a rip and a copy. So I can take all the attributes from the land, and let's say I'm going to keep it pretty much the same, and you can do that. So this is where you would go add new crops and new land and parcels and so forth from a season. We keep all the history, everything's all there, so nothing goes anywhere. This is where you won't spend any time on this, but this is where you can link in to the accounting systems. So that may be something that you want to do. Not sure that you want to do that. This is where all the contacts and so forth that we have. So these would be users of the systems. These could be farm workers. It could be managers. Regional guys that are supervisors over the, small stakeholder farms, so forth. So, that you can classify all the people and so forth. Not gonna spend much time on that. This is pretty good. This is the job rate. So this is a job list. So you can really define anything. You can, in each product, like crop care and barn manager as an example, you can set up categories, types, and jobs. And what this does is it gives you the capability, because of the way we're categorizing these particular job functions, to do some real analytical with business intelligence tools and reporting. So you can see here that you can make these, the status of it, they're all active. I can make things active and inactive. I can require materials on it. I want to track time on it, yes or no. I want to track equipment on it. Not all jobs have equipment and materials. It may be just a labor function. So lots of different jobs here. I could sort and select these things by category. Okay, for example, if I went to crop care and I wanted to look at only, let's say fertilizer, I sort it real quick. Of course, these things would all be in hectares and in that which it relates to you. So if I want to say, what am I doing for herbicide? Here's my different herbicide stuff. Here's pest management. Here's some scouting. Some are sprays. So you can, really set up and define really anything that you want. I'm going to move on. This is the geospatial viewers. A couple things I want to cover here. I'm going to click on a bunch of these things, and I'll go down to BlueJay just to give you a feel. Right now, this technology is based on Microsoft Bing Maps. This is all changing. We are about to launch, and we're doing it next month, maybe at the end of this month, but I think it's going to be pretty much the beginning of August. a whole new GeoMaps platform. So everything that you're seeing here will not only exist, but there'll be a whole bunch of additional capabilities as we are changing the entire platform in the back end from Bing Maps to a much more sophisticated platform that's got imagery from all over the world with layering capability. So if as I look at this and I hover over this piece of land, okay, and I can zoom in and out, and I'll show you a little more of that. But if I hover over this piece of land, it's all tied to the database, so it hovers it up. And this isn't any big deal to y'all because y'all are in this GIS arena, but to some people it's a big deal. And notice with one click, I'm right to that record that we were just at a minute ago. 2 clicks, I'm right back to that logbook. And there's that harvesting ticket. Here's ground sprays and weeds. So I could drill down to any of that information. You've got drawing tools. That's pretty basic these days, but I can draw specific different things on that land, and I can draw that. I can generate map books, and I've got user preferences and print books and so forth, and take those to the field. So this is all integrated with the application. And let's go down for a second and let's see. There's a couple other things I want to show you here. You've got icon managers, so you can put icons to light up. That's how this was done. Those are real basic ones there as it relates to that. You can put different styles out there. You can bring in your own maps, and you're going to see this change a lot. Depending on your timetable and when you're trying to do these things, my guess is because you're not going to get things implemented the next couple weeks, or probably even make a decision. Our whole new thing. So we probably would want to revisit that, at the appropriate time. So this is, is the ability to look at your in fact, let's go down the label. I'll display some of the imagery. Here's a soil map as an example. This one's actually this is actually a tractor that's going through the grove, and it is this is a big orange grove in this case, and it's going through the grove, and it's looking at the density of the canopy. So it's got 2 electronic eyes, infrared eyes, and it's looking at the canopy and actually creating the estimate for what the crop is. So this is the current map, as far as the with Bing Maps, and what you have is the capability of resolutions with just a standard thing. I'm kind of zoomed in here and showing you, that, but you can almost count trees. So, that's the technology that we currently have. When you start to take, LandMagic and the geo functionality that's available today, you start to integrate that with the APIs and all that kind of stuff, it becomes a powerful solution. This doesn't have any time series stuff with it at all, but the new version will. It'll not only have the time series, but it'll have the ability to do pretty much unlimited layering and real-time layering. This is pretty much an image thing, so it's not really doing true layering. It's a way to manage things and light up the map. So you could light up the map with certain kind of work orders, so if people needed to stay out of that area and so forth, you could look at water and all the different things that'll be standard. And then if you wanted to take that to another level and have more current imagery that would come in, as an example of the Terry Avon, imagery as a service, those things would be optional, and also things. So if we move on, we're going to move over to crop care. Let me go check on you here because I don't see the chat window here. I just want to make sure that you're still with me. Looks like we are. So I'm going to continue on. All right, here's the work order list. So this is showing what we've got going today. If we back up a little, maybe take this from the beginning of July. And it thinks it's restricting this, by the way, to an area. It thinks that I'm a area manager that's in charge of this specific area. So it's restricting all of the work orders, okay, to my area. So I don't have to go search which ones are mine. because I'm responsible for this area. But here's a bunch of areas. Now this is all over the country, just to give you a feel. This was in Florida, this was in California, so it's East Coast, West Coast. You can pretty much do it. Notice our fields came in there. Okay, that was from our naming convention change. So again, I could look at any particular field. Okay, so I could look at only, let's say, the berry one. So now I'm only looking at, so we did a herbicide and a pest management in several different areas as it relates to that. And this one's active. These are and haven't been closed out yet. Okay, and if I go down to Blue Jay, you can see what's going on there, all in that date range. But maybe I only want to see fertilizers, or maybe I only want to see a liquid fertilizer mix. So you can, and then you can get down to, we want to see really only a NutriSpray. All these are NutriSprays, so it'd be the same. So so that's a little of the work orders and so forth. You can sort and select any kind of date ranger. You can have contractors do it. You can look at ingredients, all of those kind of things. So let's go. Let's walk a work order through, and before I do that, let's go out and look at the schedule. So this is kind of a schedule. Notice it's starting with the timeline here of 7/22, so it knows it's today. It looks at all the dates and stuff, and again, we've got all the different sort and select criteria. And if I go into, let's do a NutriSpray. Here's let's see, we've got 8 scheduled. Let's go into a NutriSpray, and we'll do one of those. Now you can see on the 22nd, I've got a NutriSpray. I've got a pump thing scheduled out for tomorrow. And if I looked at what we had in the back week, notice it's looking at the weeks. So I can look at any kind of timeline. I can jump to any calendar date. It could be last year, last quarter. What did we do? We're actually looking at making a grid of a month calendar too, but everybody kind of manages stuff in a weekly fashion, but they need to get, so we had some ground sprays, we had a herbicide weed thing that was going on the calendar. Now let's take, I'm going to do an update, okay, and I'm going to say that we're not going to do this NutriSpray today because weather changed, and I've got something that, so I'm going to click that, and I'm going to move it over to Friday. So I just moved an entire work order with all the paperwork and everything over to Friday. And if I go down to the bottom, you'll see that this is the materials that I've done with that work order. It's a 1,000-gallon container, okay, and I'm applying it at 125 an acre. So let's go look at this. Maybe I don't like that, but and I set this up, by the way, with very easy. This was 1 or 2 clicks to create this whole work order on the front end. I scheduled it, I put it on the calendar, but now I'm not going to do it. I'm going to move it to Friday. In addition to that, I just talked to an agronomist, and he said, Bo, I don't think I would do 125 an acre coverage, or hectares in your case. I'd only do 90. And notice it immediately changed all of the values and everything there, and how much quantities and so forth that I needed. But let's say I don't have a 1,000-gallon tank. I'm going to put it in a 500-gallon tank. Notice that everything is changing. So as I change all these things, it automatically recalculates everything and has given me my cost. So I know exactly what it's going to cost, and I don't have any of this zinc. Actually, so the cost is not in there, but if it was, it would be calculating all that. And I'm going to need, this is the quantity that I'm going to need, and this is the quantity that I'm going to put out per hectare or per acre. So if I clicked on this check mark, it would change all of that. In addition to that, it would change the date of that. However, I didn't commit that record, so it's still right back to where it was. So I wanted to show you that's how you can, and you can have lots of different jobs and so forth, and you can look at certain things. You can look at a specific land area specifically. Notice I've got all my parcels, okay, all down the left side, and I got my days. So you know, pretty good way to manage work orders and things like that. Let's go to the work order list. Notice I've got my buttons right there, so I can easily get to it. And all right, we're playing with this NutriSpray. Let's start this one. And so I'm going to go into this work order, and we're going to actually do it. It's a liquid spray, and in this particular case, it's on 3 blocks, so it's real easy to add a work order or add to land. So and if I had them all, and I'll show you how to do that real quick, by the way. And I'm going to keep the thing the way it is, but if I wanted to change that formula, just like I did before, I could do that, and I won't, just for the sake of time here. And I'm going to start this work order. So it says, hey, you want to make it active? Yep, I want to make it active. I'm assuming that y'all have would want to know who the certified person is that's doing it, or the applicator themselves. I don't know if that is. We require that because it's a job, and they've got to have it. And I want to do a blend sheet, and I want to print the work order, so I'm gonna print all of it. And these will create PDFs, and these PDFs will pop up onto the screen, and this paperwork can be generated and given out to the field. Or it all can be internal, and they can do everything on tablets. And it took a minute, but now my work order is active. And if I'm popping up this PDF now, so you'll be able to see that. All right, so here's my posting sheet. So this says in the U.S. is what you have to do is posting sheets. It says, hey, I'm putting this chemical out here, and it's got a reentry of 24 hours in this case, a pre-harvest interval of 1 day, and I'm doing it on 3 different parcels. I'm starting at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm ending 24 hours later from a reentry perspective. So, and here's my weather information. Okay, here's the work order itself. So this is where you would fill that in, or automatically fill that in with a weather feed or on the work order, depending on whether you're going to complete this electronically or manually. You can do it either way. Here's my blends. This is where the actual chemicals are coming out of what location. In this particular case, it even has the sequence of the blend, so it knows that you got to put this in first, then put this in. And so forth. It knew that it was going to take 7 tanks, 6.7, so it automatically filled this out, and this would probably be tons for you, and you know, and so forth. So that's the paperwork that gets generated automatically based on that. So is what we have now is we've got this work order that's over 3 different land parcels. It's a fertilizer, liquid mix, NutriSpray, and it's on our schedule. And we're going to click the job activity because we're going to actually do it. Now, this screen's important to show because this is this particular job requires materials, it requires labor, and it requires equipment. So our goal is to get rid of all of this. So this is in red, so you want this to disappear. Notice the screen up at the top, okay? And notice these different buttons and so forth. If I just hit the summary, it'll show me for each one of these the LEMs, labor, equipment, materials. All of these are red. We need these to be green. So we're going to enter the labor, equipment, materials for each one. Not all jobs have to have labor, equipment, materials. This one, for example purposes, does have it because it requires a person to drive the tractor or the spray rig, and it requires a piece of equipment to do that, and it requires a blend and some materials. So it's got all of them, but you define how those are. So also, and if I go back to the detail, you'll see each one of my locations. Here's the acreage. These are the different these are the materials, and this is what we're putting out there, and it's wanting to know what did you actually do. Now you can feed this from equipment. So if you have equipment that's got intelligence and thing, we can have an interface to different types of equipment, or you can enter them. And we have different, we have both of them. So the first thing I'm going to do, and let me just show you this again from a header perspective. I can hide that header, okay, up at the top, and maybe we'll do this for the sake. That gives me, if this is on a tablet, okay, it's these buttons are real big. So I'm going to go ahead and enter this. This is, and I'm just going to enter some numbers. I'm going to say gallons, okay, in this particular case. This is a 24-acre thing, so I'm going to say 2, in this case, tanks. And these were 1,000-gallon. Notice I got tons. Here's all the unit of measure. So I'm going to have tanks. And then I'm going to go back, okay, to this, and I'm going to say it's 832 gallons. Okay, and as soon as I hit the tab, okay, my materials block off or drop off. So now I'm done with that. So the only thing I need to do now is I need to enter the labor. And for simplicity purposes, I'm just going to say all locations. But notice what I'm doing. I can use it here if I'm on a workstation, or I can use it here with big buttons to be on a tablet or a mobile device. So, and I'm going to say, yeah, the times were all the same. It may have been different. Notice it knew that it was today. What is this? This is labor. Who is it? We'll take John Demo and myself. Okay, and it knew what that was, calculated the number of hours. Okay, and I click the plus, and now it's split that time based on so forth, based on acreage and so forth with John Demo and Rick. So my labor information is off. I didn't show you this, but I should have. If I wanted to input the environmental information, I could do that here, or that could come in via a feed at that particular time. So that's how you would get that information on there. So I'm going to stick with all locations again. I'm going to pick the same time. I'm just going to finish at 4 p.m. This is a pretty easy one, and we're doing materials in this particular case. No, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. We're doing equipment. We've already got the materials. And I'm going to need in this case, I'm going to need a fertilizer sprayer and a tractor. Captures those 2 pieces of equipment. Yeah, we did spend 9 hours on that. And now I've got equipment, labor, materials. Okay, all of my red's gone. So if I clicked on this, I would submit that. But before I do, I just wanted to drill down on. I'll do it to this particular area. We put 2,233, and I can look at the materials here. So it was a 26 acres. That's the quantity. That's the total gallons that we put out there. And I put 285 fluid ounces, okay, of danitol, and this many pounds of this, and so forth. So I've got all the detail of everything that I've done there. And you submit that record, and now this thing is in a processing status. And if I wanted to go print this, okay, that's what I did. So you can print the work order after the job activity, after it, and without any problem. Now, one of the things that may be of interest to y'all, not sure. This is what we call the blend sheet itself, and this is the work order. I don't know if y'all are going to track inventory at all these different locations, but my guess is you're trying to get a handle on some of the inventory control, because y'all are trying to aggregate things across the small farms to get better purchases and so forth. We allow you once the work order is closed, which is what this is, we default in what we're going to reduce the inventory by, okay? And for example, this is what we're going to. This is, forget some of this. This is demo data stuff. but we give you the capability to override that. And the reason that we do is it may not have all gone out to the land. You may have had a tank problem, maybe there was a spill, so it didn't necessarily all go to the land. If in most cases it would, so you just simply, and then it says we're about to relieve inventory from the barns. This is correct. So at that point I would relieve inventory. So it is a and look at, and now it's closed. So if I went in to look at that work order or that job activity, because it's the actual job activity, it says it's complete. And if I printed this, this would be the actual job activity. Okay, and this is written, this record, and it shows you here, this is what we put out there. Okay, that's what we did. Okay, and so that's the details of that, and it writes all that record, and all that gets updated to all of the systems. So we walked a work order through, we put it on the schedule, and we saw the job list a little bit further. Notice it came in with the selection criteria, so it remembers things, by the way. So I don't think I'll go through this, but if I wanted to, let's just take one for example. Here's where you would set up a job. So, and here's the category. So this is where you could put, you know, lights. You can start to put intelligence to the pest management and some of the controls from a coloring standpoint from the map. And this is how you would distribute that job. You could have a rate if you wanted. You know, feed distribution, is irrigation, is this, so forth. So this is where the different jobs are kind of set up. And if I go over to Barn Manager, just to kind of, let's go look at, let's work with them, and we'll start with work with inventory. Let me just show you that. And I'm going to, by the way, the screens are dynamic. If I do a plus, minus, all that kind of stuff, you can see it a little better. This particular grid screen, I'm going to pick on Danitol just because we kind of stuck with that on this. It knows that I'm managing the frost-proof barn, but I could have lots of different locations and so forth. This is a transfer capability, so if I wanted to transfer something from warehouse to warehouse or from location to location, I can do that, but we just don't transfer it, so it's got to be received back in, so materials don't go missing and so forth. So it's got some controls in there from a standpoint of security. If I wanted to go look at all the barn locations that had this particular product, it would show the ones that have it and what is in stock, and if it's in red, it means it's out of stock and it needs attention. So we also can track consignments. This is the ability to purchase inventory and maybe store it in a location and then deliver it out, so you kind of take ownership but not really. And then this is a ranking of different vendors. You can have the last prices, forget some of these dates. This is demo data stuff. This actual database rolls every night from a dates perspective, so some of this is not as rolling from an averaging perspective. So if we go into the actual item itself, notice how I'm clicking right into that little pencil. Is what you'll see is you'll see the item master, and I'm going to make it a little bigger just so you can see. You know, you got DPA numbers, not sure what y'all have over there. You know, descriptions, you know, type, restricted, re-intervals. Notice the picture, it's got all the labels, all that kind of stuff. Notice these things. This is G10, Global Trade Identification Number, so this is more of a finished product thing. So you can track finished products here too. You can track it, warehouse barcode, lot control, so seeds and all that kind of stuff can get handled also. This is the ingredients and the target. This one's for citrus, so it does have some minimum maximums. This is the weight percentage, and it's restrictive, so this is kind of your tolerance level. You can also bring in substitutes and so forth for this if you had something else. The global safety data sheets referred to as SDSs. We've got all that information now, all of that thing you're seeing that transpire now to go to one uniform thing across the globe. We've already got all that capability, so you can now print out only a section, so you don't have to worry about all the different regulations and keeping track of all that stuff. Here is the item list, so it shows you manufacturers, all the item numbers. If I clicked in, go into the Dana total, stay consistent, there it is. So just another way to go back and look at this particular thing. And then what is the costing, and what is the accounting unit of measure. Here's the bill of materials list. This is where you've, and we were doing, let's see, we were doing a nutritional. Let's go look at that. And this is how that nutritional is put together. So, and here's the sequence of how you would blend that. Okay, so that's what that is. So, so that's where all the bill of materials are. So that'd be like your sprays and blends. You can put those together and then tweak them on the fly and change them on the fly, or you can just add work orders on the fly. And let me just show you that for 1 second. I didn't show you how I got the front end of the work order. So let me just go do one real quick. Notice I'm popping in here. I'm fine with the frost-proof barn. Okay, I could go anywhere else if I wanted. And how I did that nutritional spray, I could do a bunch of them. Let's do a nutritional since to kind of show you what I did. And I'll pick a, actually that's not a good one. Let's pick LaBelle. That's one there. I don't care about the variety. Well, actually, I'm going to pick a variety in this case. This particular application really doesn't matter. I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this for a second. Let's go to Blue Jay. The reason I want to show you something here. If I had gone, now we just did a work order on NutriSpray, so it's going to catch me. Okay, but I want to show you something. If I click this top one, this is filling in all these. And it says the current CTJ category, type, and job's already been assigned to this land today and cannot be reassigned. Okay. Okay, and it's going through every one of those. So it knew the 3 that I did earlier. It already had the intent, look, you can't do that again. But it said, hey, you want to do the other ones? And I say, yeah, I do. So this created that work order. Or not created the work order, but assigned that to the field. And if I took that thing and or added the materials, and I did that nutritional basic that we did before, that's how it comes in. So that's how I got it in here. So 2 clicks, and I mean you're pretty much ready to go. And then you can tweak any of the amounts that you want from there. So I won't walk it through the job activity and finish this work order out because we kind of did that. Equipment list, just to give you a feel. I know we're running out of time here. Lots of different things. Some of the data is not in here and so forth. If I go into one of the records, okay, as it relates to that, you've got equipment and things you can track. You got maintenance history. Okay, as it relates to that, here's chemical items. So you can, there's a database out there of chemical items, and if I wanted to go look at different, this is just some of the commodities. So this would be all the chemical items and suppliers, okay, available for citrus. I'm kind of covering some highlights here, just vendor item list. We didn't get into requisitions. That might be something to just cover real quick. If I wanted to go add a requisition, which would be like a purchase order to consolidate things, I would go enter it here. I won't take the time to do it, but I can do this purchase order and I can consolidate that up if I want to do that. Then you can receive those in as they're getting delivered and so forth. You can see, you know, where they go, who did it, what the type was, what items that they received. In fact, might be good to show you this. I didn't show you this, but you've got an inventory history of everything that's gone on, okay, as it relates to all of the different things, whether it be a initial balance, a cycle count, transfers, a lot of different things. So we track everything related to that. Harvesting. Won't cover a lot of that now, just from the standpoint of timing on estimates. You can have the harvest demand, so you can track the demand of what you need and then schedule to that demand. And then you can work with tickets. Tickets are harvesting things. These are different commodities. People may be hauling stuff to different locations. I can look at certain destinations and look where they're going. I can look at any date range as it relates to that. Let's look at, I'm going to look at LandMagic here for a second. Let's go to the template builder. Okay, this is a template. This is multiple templates, citrus, water analysis. So here's a canker thing. Let's just go to a citrus. Here's a simple one, Brix acid ratio. Says what is the character, the data type, can be a decimal, date, integer, calculated, whether it's a mandatory field or not. So this is going to shove it out to a tablet and allow them to, it's going to require them to enter the field. They can't skip over it, whether I want a geo point location on it, and I could have any kind of thresholds and so forth. So here's an example of a disease management thing, so for scouting. So we're looking at something as it relates. Here's a water analysis, a little bit more sophisticated as it relates to that. So it's what you do is you pick, and you, let me get some dates here, and I'll pick up citrus maybe as an example. And here is different samples that were done. This is just demo data, but this was actually done in the corner of my conference room. And this is scouting. This is me and another scout doing a Brix acid ratio, okay, out here, and that's actually our office location. That's our parking lot, and that's our building in downtown Winter Haven, and so forth. So, location tracking with all of that. So, let me come check on you and see how we're doing. Looks like still there. Let's see. I'm going to go back to, oh, wait a minute. There is something I wanted to show you. Let's go to master data for a second. I want to show you crop attributes. This is where, by the way, you can define any, that's not actually what I wanted to show you. Oh no, I wanted segments, sorry. Here's what I'm trying to find for you. This is an example, okay? And here's just some examples that are in this database. Okay, this is the examples of this was the template, okay, for the parcel. So this is not the property, but the parcel itself. And this is where you can add the different things. This is how that information was there, and how you saw on the property, okay. And you can order these things any way that you want. And here's those field labels at the property level that we wanted to add. I don't know if y'all remember that from the original. So any kind of those things you wanted to add, you can add to it, and this is how we do it. Notice we can reserve them, and whether it needs a geolocation, and so forth. So I thought that was important. I missed that during the presentation, so I wanted to make sure that I get it. And if I go back to our slides and kind of finalize things here, and you go, well, what's really the difference? And the difference here is, there's some web applications out there for sure, but I don't think there's really any web applications out there that have the width, okay, and the depth that we do, and tie stuff together. It's got that whole log book, and how that all integrates together, I think, is a big difference. And when you add the scheduling components and the AgSmart calendar, and the ability to track the inventory, not only what you're putting out there, but balances by location and warehouse, and So I can have unlimited locations of storage of equipment, and then the ability to integrate that into the GeoMaps playing field with the different APIs and stuff creates a whole new world and some new tools for agriculture. So that's kind of the end. I do have one slide here that I wanted to talk about, and this I kind of presented to Morocco as part of trying to help the African nations and really the smart farms for the small stakeholder farms. And as what I see out there is, there needs to be a solid core foundation. You kind of need farm tech hubs, because I'm not sure you've got internet access to different locations and so forth from a Wi-Fi perspective. The cloud mobile solutions is now a real cost. So these are things that I see that need to be done, and including education. You got the accounting. A dashboard intelligence needs to be developed. We don't have the dashboard today, but I can tell you that I'm about to add that. I had to build all of this stuff first, okay, all of these applications, and I've done that. Now I'm getting ready to add the BI intelligence dashboard on the top of it. And so when you look at this, that's what I kind of see, and this is kind of a map of the tech hubs that are currently out there, and I submit to you is what they need is smart farms and small, ag tech packages to help these small growers. So with that, can you hear me at all? I mean, can you say something, Adolf, and